Right. Hello and happy Tuesday. Thank you all for joining the Alumni Society today for the latest installment of our Microlearning series, which provides actionable advice and insights from members for members. I'm Christina Merrill, Member and Community Engagement and Communications Manager at the Alumni Society and a proud graduate of Columbia. Today, I'm happy to welcome member Ruben Galvan. Ruben is a Senior Product Manager at Amazon Retail. Ruben, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Very, very excited to be here and share more about the topic.
It's great to have you with us today. So time permitting, we'll open the floor for questions from the audience. So if you have a question for Ruben, feel free to go ahead and drop it in the chat and we'll try and get to it. Feel free to also message me directly if you want to keep your question private, that's absolutely fine. So let's dive right in. Ruben, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I am originally from Peru. I came to the US when I was 17. I've always been into a very curious family. Like my grandpa was an engineer, my mom was in the medical technology field. So I've always was interested in math and science. And when I came to the US, I actually landed in Kalamazoo, Michigan, very, very small town up in Michigan. I was the only brown person in miles and miles. And now I live in LA. I am a husband. I'm a father of a 2-year-old who loves playing outside, loves swimming, and I'm trying to teach him how to play soccer. And just overall, I just love building things, love building products. Being at Amazon has shown me the great way to find a customer, identify a problem, and deliver something useful for them.
Amazing, amazing. So tell us more about what you do today.
Yeah, so I am in the retail organization of Amazon. So anytime that you go to the Amazon.com store and to buy something, that's what we call, now it's called stores. So I have two roles. I'm a senior product manager for retail, and I'm also the marketing director for Somos Latinos at Amazon, which is our ERG for the LA chapter. So as a senior product manager, what I do is mainly look at what are the ways that I can help customers reduce the rate of returns. How can we help them surface better products to them? And a lot of them is through data and analytics, through understanding their feedback, and through looking at our selection and how can we optimize it for our customers.
Amazing. Sounds like you're very, very busy. Can you give us a brief overview of your education and career path and how it led you to your current role?
Yeah. I'll start a little bit far, like in the beginning. So when I first came to the US, I didn't know anything about what were the career opportunities, what the school system looked like. So I started in community college. I started at Kalamazoo Valley Community College. And eventually my family moved to Arizona, went to Pima Community College. Because I've always been into the engineering piece, into the science, I decided to go into chemical engineering at the University of Arizona. And after that, I worked for 5 years at Intel. I used to design hardware for servers, for IoT technology. So I was very much a design engineer working in manufacturability. And after 5 years there, one of the things that I realized is why am I designing all of these things? What is the purpose of me designing a server a certain way? And I wanted to get closer to the customer. I wanted to understand what was the business side, of the product. And from there, I started looking into what are the paths, and I decided to go into the MBA path because it really gives you an understanding into how is the business connected to the customer, connected to the political landscape, to the economic landscape. And I decided to go to Duke University. After my MBA, I joined City National Bank here in LA, which is a very exciting ride because it was a brand new team. We were looking at technology projects within the bank and how can we optimize that experience. The customer was very interesting. It was for ultra high net worth individuals. So here in LA, we have a lot of artists, business owners. So designing for them, creating products that would be useful for them in a high touch environment taught me a lot about just technology development overall. And eventually I wanted to go back to the tech side, like, the culture in banking and technology like Intel were very different. And I wanted to go back to that feeling of being in the tech world. And through my networks, I found a role at Amazon as a product manager. And I moved over to retail and the return space. And so far it's been a great ride. Like we've we've launched many products that help customers and really improve that customer experience. Yeah.
Amazing. And so, let's hone in on how you came to work at Amazon. You mentioned your networks, like, were you recruited? Did you know someone? How exactly did that work out, your journey to Amazon?
Yeah, my manager used to go to Duke as well. Like, we were in the same MBA program. And I think that's one of the benefits of joining top programs like that, or just keeping up with your network. I wasn't like strictly recruited. We were just chatting. I was like, hey, it sounds like you're interested in the product world. I've seen that you've developed products for the bank. I see you have an engineering background. Like, would you be interested? And it was kind of like a mutual understanding, and eventually I went over to that side. And I think so far product management has been great for me. So I think overall networks super important. That's something that I wanted to mention here. Is like the power of your networks it's so large, and I really appreciate the Alumni Society for providing a space for that.
Thank you so much. No, we appreciate you, and I love how just that casual chat led to your going to Amazon. That's fantastic. So, on that note, do you have any advice for someone who interviews at Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon is such a large company and very peculiar. I think some of the things that are important are understanding who's Amazon customer, right? Who's the customer, who's the org, because there are so many businesses. For example, we have retail, we have AWS. I think we were in pharmacy at some point. We were in the medical field at some point. So Amazon has multiple businesses. For example, here locally, we have Prime Video, and the way that customer understands the product and their needs might be very different. So if you're interested in a role, like as you're looking at the organizations, understanding who that customer is very important. And the other part is understanding how Amazon works. We have a doc culture, so we don't do presentations. Everything is written. So I've gotten very good at writing and just creating tables, because you will not see anyone with PowerPoint open in their laptops on Amazon, unless they're like marketing. But a lot of what we do is through docs. And the way we develop is working backwards from the customers. We look at the customers, we understand the pain point and the problem, and we work back from there into figuring out what is the right technology, what is the right solution, which is slightly different than the environment that we live today with AI. And I know we're going to talk about it, where there is a technology out there and we're trying to find use cases, which is just another way of development. But if you're looking at the true way of the way Amazon does things, is working backwards from the customer. And I would say the third and final piece is understanding Amazon leadership principles. We use them every day. We use them to make decisions, because Amazon is such a large company. Having principles on how to make decisions is very important, because there will be many debates from multiple teams where we would need to have some sort of guidance to understand this is the culture, this is what we're trying to do, and this is the decision that we'll make.
Amazing. These are hot tips. Thank you for sharing. And now let's talk about your role itself. What is your day-to-day like?
There is no typical day-to-day, for sure. It varies. The way I would explain, like, as a product manager, you might own a product or a feature, and all of those features are at different points of maturity. So usually the cycle is at the beginning, you're sizing the product, you're trying to figure out who's the customer, how big the opportunity is. Then you are writing some sort of document that says this is the opportunity, trying to convince teams to put resources behind them. And then from that point, you will go into creating requirements, helping technology teams develop the actual solution. And then you go into a testing, and after testing, we decide, and then we launch and monitor. So in my day-to-day, the team that I am in, we focus on 0 to 1 initiatives. So I typically have anything from 5 to 12 features that I would be owning or partnering with. And all of them are at different maturity levels. So my morning might be running a SQL query to identify a customer problem and identify an opportunity, while my afternoon would be looking at A/B test results on how certain features performed in the site. And then my next day would be talking to engineering teams. So you have multiple products, at multiple maturity levels, and you're trying to figure out where each one is in the maturity range, and then executing against that roadmap. Yeah.
Amazing. That's really interesting. And is there anything cool about the types of products you're working on that you can share?
Yeah, I can't share specifics, but I can tell you what kind of questions I'm trying to answer, right? So my focus is in the returns world. And every time I talk to someone and tell them that I work at Amazon and I work at Amazon in the return space, they love to tell me what they returned last. So the questions that I'm trying to answer is, how can I use data and analytics to help you return less items, right? Because I'm trying to figure out what are the reasons that you would return something. And is there something that I can do to help you find that right product that fits in your home, that fits on you, that meets your needs, so it's less likely for you to return it, right? We have a great return policy and we want you to test and try different things. But if I can help you make that decision ahead of time, that is a win for me. So those are the kind of questions that I'm trying to answer. And I try to answer them by using data and analytics. By now, we're moving into using AI more often. We're also trying to what is the name for it? So just like behavioral science, right? Like what signals can I give you in the journey so I can help you make those choices, right? For example, we recently launched a frequently returned badge. And now on certain items, you might see this item is frequently returned. So we have a whole analytics model that decides how to do that and when to do that. But we want to know, like, what do customers think? Like, how is that impacting their behavior as they shop?
Amazing, amazing. That's really funny that people love to tell you their return stories. And on that note, what do you love about being a product manager? What are some of the benefits, if you will?
Yeah, I think as a product manager, it allows you to grow in multiple areas, right? A lot of people say the product manager is like the mini CEO of the product. I don't fully agree with that statement. A lot of people use it, but it's more like an architect, right? Like if you think of architecture, I think it's more closely related to it because you are creating the experience through the product, right? Like I'm bringing you on a site. I'm telling you how to search. I'm telling you what are the hot products today. Once you click on a product, I'm telling you, what the experience is going to be on the information that you see first, second, and third. And just being able to see that end to end really gives you a lot of room to grow. I'm an engineer, so I'm more on the technical side. So usually the projects that I focus on are usually more technical, more on the data and analytics side, working with software engineers. But as a product manager, you can also grow in the marketing side, on the business side. Like we have a lot of people that sell on Amazon. There are product managers that focus a lot on the seller experience, right? If you're a small business and you want to sell on Amazon, how can we make that experience positive so that you can grow your business using Amazon tools and reaching more customers that you would if you didn't have that ability. So it allows you to grow. Like for me, I like growing into the engineering side. I know people that like to grow more on the management side, and then you can coach and teach people how to develop products, how to coach them through making decisions. I've seen people grow more on the negotiation side. How do you create products that help negotiate terms with certain vendors, within certain industries? So I think there is a lot of flexibility in the role, and that's what I like, because even just within the returns world, I've been able to look at policy, I've been able to look at the tech, I've been able to look at the operations. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits, seeing it end to end and just putting your own goals on top of it and growing the way you want to grow.
Love it. Love it. And so who do you think is best suited to be a product manager? What types of skills and qualities do you need to have?
I think the number one that pops for me is communication. Because you have this end-to-end view of the whole process, where product managers bring a lot of value is in defining the mission and the strategy of the company through product development, right? Through product launches. So being able to communicate and articulate that vision to multiple teams is key, because they each might have a different view. Like legal might have a view that is different than marketing, which is different than software development. So I would say being a great communicator is number one. And that's not a technical skill, right? A lot of us are, even before I was a product manager, I was in a role where I just had to communicate with stakeholder, negotiate timelines, negotiate budgets. And that's something that I've always carried with me. So I would say that'll be my number one skill. And I think you also need to look at it from a perspective of where are you in your career, right? If you're early in your career and you want to position yourself towards the product management role, if you are on projects that are launching something new, you are touching a new customer, you are going for a new market, getting that experience early in your career really helps, because you're understanding the market, you're understanding the offer, you're understanding the product market fit, and like whether the product will be successful or not. Now, if you're more maybe mid-level in your career, looking at your previous experience, if you want to go into product management, how do you position that into product language, right? For example, when I used to be a design engineer, as a designer, you get to see the product end to end. I was designing for manufacturing, I was designing for use, and I was designing for post-use, which is basically what do you do when you stop using a product, right? How do you dispose of it? So you can position that into the product management lingo and the role and say, hey, I used to really think about the customer, think about the use case, and develop based on that. And then I know the Alumni Society, a lot of folks that join are leaders, and sometimes organizations become more product-led, and some organizations would start hiring product managers and maybe not necessarily would go into a product management role, but are leading an organization with more product people in there. And I think for leaders, I would say use your product managers as levers to define your mission, your strategy, and improve your communications on the direction you want to go, right? Like being able to generate that mission statement and that strategy is very valuable to get the whole organization aligned behind a common mission.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that insight. And as you mentioned earlier, you have a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. Do you need to have an engineering degree to be a product manager?
Certainly not. I mean, I've seen folks with multiple backgrounds. I'll tell you, my manager has a psychology background, right? And which is super useful, because at the end of the day, what the product manager is trying to do is figure out what the customer wants and needs at that moment in time. And we all try to get there from our own expertise. I certainly work with a very diverse group of people that are all product managers and have very different backgrounds. And that's what I mentioned earlier. Leverage your past experience to position yourself within the product role. You don't need an engineering background unless you want to work for a very technical product, right? But nowadays, a lot of companies are becoming product-led. Like I think one good example are things like LegalZoom, for example, right? It's a very legal-oriented. You might not be a lawyer, but if you understand what customers want, what the customer might be a business owner, and if you understand what the needs of that business owner are, and you can communicate that to technology teams, you can build requirements, you are very well positioned to be a product manager.
Amazing. Thank you. Now we'll transition now to sort of like your industry knowledge. And so, we're sure you've seen some interesting developments in the tech industry throughout your career. How would you say the tech environment has changed? Obviously there have been many changes over the past decade alone, but what major changes and evolutions have you seen?
Yeah, the tech space has certainly changed a lot. I think there are two big changes, right? One is just the economic environment and just the overall environment from what was the pandemic and then post-pandemic world. And then the other part was the availability of tech for each, and they are kind of interrelated. On one side, the pandemic brought a lot of there were interest rates dropped to zero, and there was a lot of available capital for companies. And I think what we saw there was an explosion of growth for multiple companies. You had several startups getting into the market. There was a lot of capital to grow products, to hire product managers, and really test new ideas in this new environment, right? We were all going online, we were all going virtual, and there was a need to test multiple things. And I think what that did in the post-pandemic world is that once we started going back to offices, once the pandemic ended, we could meet in person, then it generates a new need. And what I've seen is just overall across tech, that growth is being trimmed down into a more efficient business model, right? And I think, at least what I have experienced, right, in the last few years is, as a product manager, now there's a bit more focus on the profitability aspect of the P&L, right? And how do we do that through technology? How do I influence tech teams to create features that will make sure companies are profitable? So I think it's going to be one of the biggest shifts, is going from a pre-pandemic customer needs to a post-pandemic customer needs, and being focused more on profitability. And then the other part is the availability of technology, right? ChatGPT and AI just started growing so quickly since last year, that now there is this new technology available, and people are looking for new use cases. And how do I use it for my business? I've seen founders trying to use AI for their use cases. So I think that's another bigger trend that it's coming. And I see funding going towards AI companies and AI development in the future. So, and I think, just if I look 2-3 years from now, I think the cycle will keep repeating itself, right? We're in a period where the economy is not great. We're focused on profit, but I think eventually what will happen is that there will be pockets in the economy that would grow at different rates, right? Maybe AI is just for legal use cases, and that's going to grow for a while. Maybe crypto will come back because it's so low. And one of the cycles with crypto is, when crypto and blockchain technology is cheap, a lot of development happens because it's cheap to test, it's cheap to do development there. Then it becomes more expensive, and a lot of applications become more focused on profit, and that cycle flows through.
Incredible. And so on that note, artificial intelligence, obviously it's a very hot topic right now. How does AI fit into your current role?
Yeah, I think in two ways. One, what kind of products I'm looking to launch, right? Like, certainly a lot of us are being asked, just across the tech industry, right? How can you use AI to automate certain processes or bring new products to life? And I know there's been a lot of articles on what multiple companies are doing, and there's definitely an opportunity there. I think what is really interesting is how product managers are using AI for their own productivity. For example, I mentioned I write requirements documents, I write a lot of communication. So one of the things that I like to do is using tools like Bard or ChatGPT and say, hey, if I were to message this to a customer, what do you understand, right? And trying to get some of that feedback and test quickly with the AI, like how the language is interpreted by a customer. So that's one area. And the other part is things that you couldn't do manually before, like, for example, updating spreadsheets. Or what I like to do with ChatGPT is come up with templates, like, hey, I'm trying to do this task. Give me a template on how do I write user stories in a consistent manner. And then I can just upload all my notes, summarize it, and turn those into customer stories. Right? It really helps the writing and the communication part to be much quicker. But I think there are a lot more tools coming up on the productivity space for product managers, and I think that's a very interesting space.
Amazing, amazing. Folks, we have one more question to go. So now's the time to go ahead and drop your any questions that you may have in the chat. We have a few minutes for those, so don't be shy. Go ahead and start submitting your questions if you have any. My last question for you, Ruben, is, it's no secret that the tech industry, suffered quite a bit this year. What's your advice for navigating what can be, such a notoriously fickle industry?
Yeah, I think big tech has definitely suffered. But one trend that I'm seeing is that a lot of just companies are now tech companies, right? Like smaller businesses, smaller companies that used to be focused on a small customer. Now basically anything can become tech, right? Like once you start applying some more use cases and product to it, it can become a tech area. So I would say while big tech is maybe shrinking a little bit, there's other areas that are still growing. So in that aspect, what I would say is leverage your networks. I think that's number one. We all know someone that knows someone. And I think staying connected is super useful because it brings clarity to what you want to do, and it can bring you opportunities as you talk to people. So definitely leveraging your networks in this market is number one. Then two, focus on your goals. I think a lot of times when we interview people and we see resumes, it's just people fishing for any role available. And I totally understand and empathize where we are having a lot of layoffs across tech. But I think it's also a good time to think about your goals. I think when someone interviews or writes a resume on a topic or industry that they are really interested about, really passionate about, that shines through. Right. I think that makes a big difference. So focus on your goals, your personal goals. What do you really want to get out of your next role would be key. And then the third one would be just stay up to date on the latest trends for customers. I think across, as I mentioned, there is a pre-pandemic and now a post-pandemic world. Customers have a different needs now than they did in the pandemic. And understanding where those trends are going is important. As someone that's in the e-commerce space, I'm constantly reading, constantly looking at what customers are saying about their purchases. And because I work at a place like Amazon, people don't hesitate to tell me, hey, this is how I shop. You need to fix this. So I think that's number one. But whatever industry you are in, right? For me, looking back at my City National Bank time where we did a lot of entertainment clients. In that case, understanding what entertainment clients are going through right now would be important because there could be a product that you can launch or a feature that you could improve for their experience, right? Right now, especially here in LA, that's I think closer. The whole strike has really impacted the economy of the city. So keeping that in mind in context will definitely help when you talk to potential employers.
Incredible. Incredible. Thank you so much. These were such tremendous insights. No questions, but that's okay. This was such a fantastic session. So Ruben, thank you again so much for being here today and sharing your insights. You have some truly great experiences in this area. And so, we're very grateful that you were here to share your wisdom. How can members get in touch with you?
LinkedIn is best. If I don't know, I can share it or you can share it after. LinkedIn is number one. I think happy to connect with anyone that's interested in product management, tech in general, or just wants to chat. Very, very excited about that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So to our audience, if you are interested in sharing your knowledge and insights in an upcoming microlearning series webinar, email us at members@thealumnisociety.com with your idea. Thank you all again for joining us today and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.